I'm Bias Trades here, and today we're going to be going over my setup, and it's going to be part one. This will be a mini video series over Christmas about my two setups that are like interchangeable and the whole thought process behind them, how I created them, what they are, the data that backs them up, and why I trade them, and kind of like my mini story scattered into this as well of how I've started trading these setups. So let's get into it. So, how I came up with the idea. I began trading large and small caps with mainly Humble Trader back in the day. I think that's about 2.5 years ago now, so time has flown by. I quickly found that small caps were the type of price action I like. They were quick, reactive, and in my opinion, more predictable at the time. So I kind of stuck with those for a while, and I began researching other notable traders in the space, such as Jay Trader, Brian Lee, Trade the Matrix, and many more. I fully recommend all of those people. Justin Flynn as well is great, but I didn't know him back then. But yeah, these are all amazing traders, especially for small caps. So I went through pretty much all of the content and traded each one of those their setups for about a month or so. Pretty much just get a feeling of how they traded them. Obviously, it wasn't profitable and it wasn't exactly how they traded it, but to get a feel of what criteria they were taking into account and how it looked like on a chart. I gained some traction utilizing the setups, concepts, and rules, but I rapidly lost all of my gains due to market conditions shifting and blowing away a month's profit, or I became stubborn on a stock or didn't follow my rules. Now, keep in mind the rules back then, they were very. They were very subjective. They were not very set in stone. They were not very data backed. They were very yeah, just very subjective. I just came up with them pretty much on the spot or from opinions of others. So yeah. As a result, I began trading small caps and with the intention of shorting gappers on the day. That was pretty much my whole thing for the first year, pretty much. Was just shorting gappers on the day and using the rules and setups and criteria, kind of all piled into one. I definitely don't regret this. At the time, I probably thought I was smarter than I was. However, I think this is kind of how you do start with ideas. They come from others and you try and adapt them to your own way. It is very difficult to just only trade the way they do it. Some people do that and it works. However, for me, I was always more um, I like to mess around with it and change it and make it mine. So the playbook, this was a big step for me. I watched a number of SMB Capital videos of how they created their playbooks, and I eventually realized that I needed to create my own. It took me approximately a week to put together my two setups, which were interchangeable. They concentrated on using the gap percentage plus prior volume blocks above the price, while using market cap and float buckets to group tickers as A plus, A, B, C, etc. This was extremely basic, and this was just using observed events to back up my judgment. So there was no data at this point. I think I did start tracking data myself manually on an Excel spreadsheet. However, it was it's all subjective. It wasn't wasn't if I got the value wrong by mistake, I wouldn't have known. I wasn't like double checking my data. I wasn't using any crazy data points or something or anything very complex. So just a very simple Excel spreadsheet. Now, data. This was a big part of my journey, and I traded these two setups, as mentioned before, while manually compiling a database of all the tickers that met the criteria. Due to poor discipline and a lack of faith in my setups, I was still suffering substantial losses at the time. And then I began following more data backed traders, such as Day Trading Zoo and Short Baggy. I don't know how many people know him on Twitter, but I remember seeing his trades back in 2020, and I thought it was insane how he was using such a huge stop. And for a while, I thought that was, it's crazy, as many people do with Chris Verma. However, there is actually a data reason for using big stops. You can have your own opinion, but statistically, it does actually make sense. So it was really cool to learn that. And then I completely had my eyes open of how different trading can be and how you can employ statistics to help build confidence and understanding of your setup. I really recommend everyone to check them out, as well as any other traders I mentioned this in this series, as I think it does take a while to find out which traders are good and bad. Obviously, this is just my opinion, but hopefully there's some trust here, and I definitely implore you to check them out. So I started learning how to develop simple Python scripts, such as a calculator and other random projects to expand my knowledge of Python. This was kind of my gateway to starting using APIs to like get data from data providers and other stuff. However, I have got some coding knowledge on me before. I did used to trade. I used to code in HTML, CSS, some JavaScript, and then PineScript for TradingView. So Python wasn't, an extremely difficult language. However, it does come with some learning curves and it does take a while, as with any language, I would say. However, later on, I began to construct Discord bots in order to improve my ability to use APIs to execute trading related automation, such as saving charts or a ticker grade calculator for my setup, which was really useful, by the way. Definitely recommend. You can even build it in Excel, or I can help you build it if you need. But a way of grading your tickers using only data inputs, so data entry, is amazing. It takes so much guesswork out of your trading, and I highly, highly recommend it. Now, how I used data to solidify my setup with an explanation of what data I extracted, what variables I used, and why, plus why I decided to change elements of my setup or add new elements and see the reasoning for them, will all be in my next video later on this week. So it will be, I think, about a 4-part video series. Next video should be about how I used the data, how I got the data, and why I ended up changing things about my setup. Then the next video will be pretty much just a setup video where you can see all the variables, the entry and exit requirements, the criteria I use, and you can either take them or, just at least see how that works. And then the final video will be any recommendations, tips, and just any extra points, really. Thank you for watching.